Have you ever wanted to make your own hash browns at home? Well, today we have an option for you. Welcome to our ForJars Kitchen, and today's guest is RuthAnn Zimmerman.
I am so happy to be here. You can find more about me and my family at Homesteading with the Zimmermans on YouTube.
All right, Ruth, what do we need to go ahead and start this process?
So you need your cleaned and prepared jars, a funnel, and then of course you need your canning lids. So we prepared the lids by simmering them in boiling water, and your rings. I'm gonna use this tool to dish the potatoes into the jars because this is rubber and it won't break the potatoes. We peeled them and diced them. I like to make 1 to 2 inch cubes, and then we blanch them. So when you blanch them, that helps the potato release some of its starch. And the reason you want the starch removed from the potato is the texture. So after it's pressure canned, if it contains too much starch, the texture integrity won't stay. Like they'll be more like a mashed potato, and you'll know what I'm talking about if you open a jar and you realize it's too starchy.
It'll be good to remove the starch, especially for things like tater tots and stuff, so that it stays together.
So that when you open your jar, you don't just have a pile of mashed potatoes.
Yep.
The link to the recipe for these potatoes will be in the description. One of the things that I like to do when I'm filling a jar with dry product is I like to do this and settle the product, because when you can it, it's going to shrink. Personally, for my family, I need a whole quart of potatoes, not just a 3/4 quart. So when you do this, it settles down. So we're gonna fill the potatoes almost all the way to the top, and we're not gonna worry about headspace until we add the hot water. If you watch me, I literally bang my jars on the counter. I put a little hot pad or something in and just bang them.
And so now we're gonna add 1 teaspoon of salt to each jar. Can you tell us a little bit about why we want to use which type of salt?
A lot of recipes will ask for canning salt, and a lot of first-time canners will get tripped up over that. All that means is you don't wanna use salt that has anti-caking ingredients into it, because that can make your end product turn cloudy. It doesn't affect the taste or the nutrition of your end product. It just doesn't look as pretty. So we are using a pink Himalayan salt, and we checked the ingredients, and there's no anti-caking ingredients in our pink Himalayan salt. So now we're ready to add the boiling water into our potatoes. So we want to fill them to 1 inch of headspace. And this ForJars funnel is a 2-in-1. So not only is it a funnel, but you have your headspace right on the bottom of the funnel. So we're gonna fill all of these jars with boiling water to 1 inch of headspace. So next we're going to wipe the rims of our jars. When you're canning something like this, mainly what you're trying to get off is any grains of salt, right? Okay. That might have landed on there and can affect your seal. If you can anything with grease in it, it's a good idea to wipe the rims with vinegar. So we're going to wipe the rims with vinegar, even though we know there's no grease in potatoes. And this will just help dissolve anything that's on the rim of the jar and might affect the seal. Okay, so then we can place the lids on. So next we're gonna add the rings, and we're only going to tighten them finger tight. So that means just until they go against. You're not gonna give them that extra turn. And the reason for this is when we pressure can, we do want some of the pressure to be able to escape. Because what happens is as they cool off, then it'll vacuum down, and you really only need the ring to hold the lid in place, not to make it seal, because the heat will make it seal.
Your hands aren't burning from the potatoes or from the boiling water?
No. My hands are grandma tough. This is the plate that goes in the bottom of your pressure canner, and the reason for this is it protects your glass jar from the direct heat of the burner. So this plate kind of creates a little bit of a barrier so your glass jars aren't exposed to that direct heat of the burner.
So we're gonna go ahead and add 2 inches of hot water into our pressure canner, and we wanna add hot water because our product is gonna be hot. So you always want your water to match your product. If you have cold product going in, you're gonna have cold water. And we are going to go ahead and let the heat build up in there. Once we see steam coming through the vent is when we're gonna put our regulator on with the right amount of weight. So in Florida, we're at sea level, so we only do 10 pounds of pressure. So now that our vent is steaming, a good way to tell if it is just put something up there and you definitely see the difference. Go ahead and put on your regulator. So we only need 10 pounds. So for a 4 jars pressure canner, you need the base and then a 5 pound.
What this is going to do is it's going to trap the steam inside, and the steam is what builds up the pressure. So now a lot of people get scared at this part when they add weight and it traps the steam inside. But with your 4 jars pressure canner, you have these safety valves, and if perchance you get busy doing something else and you're not watching this, because now that the steam is trapped, you're going to see your gauge start going up, and then you're going to adjust your burner to keep it where you want it. These safety valves are just going to pop up, and it's going to allow excess steam to escape. So now that our gauge has come all the way down to 0, we know that it's safe to take the weight off. Now there's still going to be a lot of steam inside, so when you take this off, you will see some steam come out, but that's okay. And you may want to use a towel just to protect yourself from getting a steam burn. And then you're just going to let that get all done steaming before you open it. One of the reasons we want to be very patient and let the pressure release naturally is because your jars have to reduce in temperature slowly. Because if the temperature drops too fast, that's what causes your jars to boil over and the product can come out. And when that happens, some of the product will get trapped between the lid and the jar, and that will prevent your jar from sealing. So it's important to just let it release naturally. So I actually heard this little seal in here drop, so that means it's okay for us to open.
Ruth, thank you so much for showing us this recipe of how to can potatoes. For those of us that live in Florida, our potatoes don't last that long in our storages because they sprout right away. Perfect idea of what we can do with them.
You might be like me and grow 100 pounds of potatoes or more, and your family doesn't eat them all before they start to sprout. So this is a great way for us to preserve our harvest beyond what the natural storage would allow. It also makes a great convenience meal. You can drain them, put them in your cast iron pan, fry them up as hash browns, or you can add them to some tomato juice and canned meat and some canned green beans, and you have a beautiful beef stew.
Be blessed.